In the first part of the orientation, we're going to introduce you to the gig message and specifically the topic of how to move from struggle to significance. In this first part, we will talk about the generational mindset. In terms of your orientation program, you are right now at step 2A, where we talk about the generational mindset. It is important that you understand that you have a calling on your life. Most people look like this, where they feel battered and bruised because of the economic circumstances they find themselves in, but they don't realize it's purely because of their current mindset, which is steeped in one generational thinking. What we are trying to achieve in this first part of the program is to show that although you might look like this, you are unique and you have a purpose. The gig movement started in 2008 when the first founding members discovered a historical truth that was hidden in one of the books on wisdom called Proverbs. It basically states that in any society where you can find a man, woman or couple who dedicate their lives to leave an inheritance built on moral stability and goodness, and this inheritance must pass through the hands of the children and be for the children's children, then whatever that family did will cause a system which will ensure that the unused resources of the families who missed the mark will end up in the families who are doing the right thing. The next few slides best illustrate the generational mindset problem and solution. When we start, we hope to become 80 years old. That makes us generation 1, and the typical generation 1 mindset looks as follows. We get born, we grow up, we look for a job or career where we can make as much money as possible as fast as we can, because around about 50 we reach our career peak, and from here on it's downhill because society says we are now too old. Now if you are really good, you have made enough provision here to see you through until old age, so that when you die you have left some money for the funeral and some money for the kids, and everybody say that was a good man or woman. But what does it really make us? It makes us a society of consumers, that in our lifetime we make it and we eat it. Our children start at nothing, they make it, they eat it. Their children start all over again, make it, eat it. And what we do, we perpetuate a society that just survive one more week, one more month, one more year, one more life, and never move beyond mediocrity. If we look at old age and we draw a value line that says that's the value that society places on people, then what happens with our current society of old people? They are not valued, they're forgotten somewhere at the backyard of someone's house, considered a burden. And this could pretty much be your life expectancy unless you heed the message of gig and what can happen if you think generationally. So what can happen if you think beyond your own life and you think for the next generation of your children, and let's assume you got them when you were 30 and they will live another 80 years, so they will die 30 years after you. So the two-generation mindset says, I will think beyond my death, 30 years beyond my death, until the time that my current children will probably be old people and be ready to die. So how does it work out in practice? It says that on a daily basis, whatever decision I make, whatever relationship decision I make, or business decision or purchase decision, I ask myself, how will this affect the life and the time of my children by the time that they will be old people and die? That means you'll have to start thinking trends, study trends, looking into the future. And it's not that easy, but the kind of person who can do this will find that when these people start to go down, his life still goes up, because he has studied trends and he's positioned his family in front of these trends. What happened to this kind of person? At a ripe old age, he's still financially wealthy, he's a deal maker, society respects him, comes to him for decisions, and when by the time that he's ready to go, he's not just surviving, he's thriving. How many such people do you know? You may know a few, but just a few. So what is best for society? Best for society is not first generation or even second generation, but according to that historic society law, it says plan for the time of your children's children. That means think 60 years beyond your death. The kind of person who can do that says, I'm thinking on behalf of my grandchildren, even if they're not yet born. I'm taking my current generation of children with me on this journey. I teach them the language of wealth, where we are no longer consumers but builders, where we are no longer owners but stewards, and I'm not necessarily expecting my children to follow in my footsteps. I will study them and release them in their gifting. But if God has given me an ability to create jobs and employment for people, I will continue that. I will use my skills, my talent, my networks, and I will put it in the right legal structures and bring the right people around me, and then this person's life will be reflected by the pink line, where it just grow and over time become more and more wealthy, have more and more influence, get things done faster and faster, and his life is one big fun journey. And then at a ripe old age, he leaves society, he comes to the end of his life, and when he's gone, in hindsight, people will say that was his career peak. But now his peak becomes the foundation on which his children can build for their future, and their peak becomes the foundation for their children's future. And then this family will have a trend line that says from generation to generation they just grew economically stronger and of more benefit to society. So if you look at this line, there are in our present situation families like that. In every society there are a few wealthy families that have successfully transferred wealth from generation to generation, and these families are the blessing to their societies, because their family businesses have provided sustainable wealth and sustainable employment opportunities to thousands and thousands of citizens, regardless of their political or religious affiliations. So if we desire a better future, we need to get onto this pink line, and we need to become one of those founding families who in future will be mentioned in the same vein as in our current society where these names are mentioned. And this brings us to the message of Geek. To continue, go to step B and learn about the journey of the 4 S's.